There's a lot of other countries I want to hit here, but I also want to hit America. Do you look at human rights in America, and what do you see?
We absolutely do.
Okay, because the Chinese will point over there. Russia Today puts journalists and points there. Everyone says, what about your own backyard?
Yeah. No, our largest country program is actually our program on the United States.
Really?
And we focus largely on two broad areas, immigration and criminal justice. And with immigration, what Trump has done on the U.S.-Mexican border has been abysmal, where he's essentially ripped up the law to protect people seeking asylum. So you have these people coming from Central America, from the gang violence, from the complete lack of rule of law. They come to the Mexican border and they have a right to enter the United States. There's nothing illegal about that. They have a right to enter and seek asylum. And what Trump is saying is, first of all, go wait in Mexico, which is completely illegal. It's unsafe there. People are, very much in danger on the other side of the border. And he's also then trying to change the rules to say, well, since you pass through Guatemala, you should apply in Guatemala for asylum, rather than the United States, as if Guatemala or Mexico can, in any sense, provide asylum for people. Human Rights Watch just put out a report on people who had been sent back from the United States to El Salvador. And we found that over the last, I think, 6-7 years, there were over 100 people who had been killed after having been sent back. Yeah. And so this shows how the asylum system is really being twisted by the United States to just stop immigration rather than to live up to the rights to protect people who very much need it. So those sorts of issues, the separation of children from their families, the unnecessary detention of immigrants, and these are a range of issues that Human Rights Watch is looking at, as well as, frankly, the importance of trying to protect the many of the 11 million undocumented migrants who live in the United States now. And roughly 2/3 of them have been there for a decade. So they have U.S. citizen kids and U.S. citizen spouses and jobs and houses, and they basically are Americans in every way but for papers. And at some point, there's a statute of limitations if you commit a crime. At some point, there should be a statute of limitations if you're an undocumented immigrant. Okay. And people should just say, you got a life, you should be able to lead this.
And that's kind of being reversed under this administration, where they're actually going after these people.
Well, Trump has seen political advantage in trying to demonize immigrants. From his perspective, every immigrant is a racist, a rapist, or a murderer, or a drug dealer. And we've actually been putting video cameras on the border and interviewing people as they are deported to say, so which one of those are you? And of course they say, I've got my kids back home and I've been living there for 12 years. Yeah. And, I just lost my job because Trump deported me. So it's, the reality is very different from the caricature that Trump presents.
And you also mentioned criminal justice as well.
Our focus in criminal justice has really been, this radical over-incarceration used by the United States, and particularly the racial component to it. And so, what you find is that there are enormous discrepancies between whites and blacks in terms of how they're treated by the criminal justice system. Drug prosecutions are a good example of this, where you'll have multiples of 5, 6, sometimes much larger than that. Same offense, but whether you're white or black will depend on how likely you are to go to prison. And we've been doing a lot of work recently on bail, where people will commit some nonviolent offense, they're charged with it, and they're basically locked up just because they're poor, because they can't post a nominal amount of bail. And with some success now, New York has just abolished money bail.
I saw that, yeah.
for nonviolent offenses. And if you're out, you're much more able to contest the charges, to find witnesses, to present a defense. If you're stuck inside, you tend to plead guilty, then you have a felony record with all kinds of negative consequences. So that initial bail decision is enormously important. And New York, California, there's an increasing recognition that this is just unfair, that you may need bail for certain very violent cases or if there's a real risk of flight, but most people, there's no need to be locking them up until trial. They're presumptively innocent, and they should be able to mount their defense without being incarcerated.